welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. We got the full CHGO White Sox crew with me. That's Vinnie Duber in a very orange shirt.
Right. Put on your sunglasses at home.
He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can read his work at allchgo.com. His latest piece about Nicky Lopez. And the man in the middle is Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him at Eckerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. And you can follow us at CHGO_White Sox. We're being produced today by Sarah.
Hello.
You say hey?
I said, yeah, hello. Sorry.
Okay. No, you're all good. I'm a man of, what's it called? Routine. Thank you, Herb. And, you know.
Sarah's changing it up on you.
Usually it's a hey, so it just got thrown off.
Hello.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You should go with a different one every day, Sarah. That should be your bit.
It should get shorter and shorter every time I do it. Just
or longer and longer.
Salutation. Just
by the end, you're just like, greetings, everyone.
Salutations.
I like that better. Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up button if you're watching on YouTube right now. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you very much. If you are so kind, make sure to review and rate the podcast. And that's about it. Oh, we want to welcome new diehards as well. We got new diehards into the CHGO Discord and just into the program as well. I think we're up to over 100 from what Kevin said in the month of January. So thank you very much for expanding the program. But we got Brian, Bonnie, Pierre, and Joe are all new diehards. So thank you, you four, for joining. And thank you very much. If you do want to become a diehard, level up your fandom, become a diehard today at allchgo.com. You get a shirt when you join. You're able to join everyone in the Discord. You get a diehard membership that I think people were saying they were giving that to law enforcement, which you shouldn't do. Probably get in trouble.
Although
and some stickers.
You're better off showing it to law enforcement than trying to show it as identification of law enforcement.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, right. Don't impersonate the law.
Correct. Get away from me, officer. I have my CHGO membership card.
Like, man, we'd like to ask you a couple questions, and that's the badge you flash. I'm not sure that's going to get you where you need to get.
Right. On today's show, we will be talking about Colson Montgomery. Now, according to MLB Pipeline, and I believe they're the only outlet to have Colson be this distinguishment.
That is correct.
Colson Montgomery, according to MLB Pipeline, is a top 10 prospect in all of Major League Baseball. We'll discuss which White Sox prospects have been top 10 prospects since the 1990s when they have started ranking prospects. We'll talk about trade proposals as well. We discussed the Jerry Dipoto Mariners thing. The Twins end up being the team that we're trading with the Mariners.
But not the most recent team.
Not the most recent team. Not even
he made another trade today.
Yeah, right. And not even the most recent AL Central team.
That is correct.
The Royals were the team that traded with them today. But maybe talk about the package that they're looking for, because some of the negatives about Colson, maybe he won't be playing a certain position. Are the Sox looking for that certain position in a trade? We'll also talk about Chris Getz's comments on Colson Montgomery. We also have some video from Pedro Grifol from the Boys and Girls Club about expectations for Colson come opening day, and we've heard some recent comments from not only Pedro but also Chris Getz on the topic, and we're just not really sure where he stands. So we'll discuss Colson Montgomery today. If you have any thoughts, let us know in the chat. Thank you very much for hanging out with us, Uncle Ted, Justin, Connor. Let's jump in, I think, first to the history of top 10 prospects, because Connor says Joe Borchard was a failed top 10 prospect, but if you remember his 5 for 12 with 2 doubles contributions to the Sox in September of 2005, he wasn't a top 10 prospect.
Per MLB.com.
Per Baseball America. MLB.com,
okay,
from what I know, started their prospects, or I could only find their prospect list until 2004.
Okay.
So from 2004 to 2024.
Which is 20 years now.
Right.
Yeah.
We're using MLB Pipeline.
Okay.
But then from 2003 to 1990, we are using Baseball America, and that is the one outlet that I do know that has been doing it for the longest period.
And that covers the entirety of my life.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
there you go. And happy birthday. Sarah, if you want to flash the top 10 prospect list, we can get into the players that have been top 10 prospects. Colson Montgomery, now 9th on MLB Pipeline's top 100 list. Colson Montgomery in 2024, again, making the top 10. In 2020, Luis Robert Jr. wasn't junior then, was just Luis Robert Jr., or was just Luis Robert, but he was 3rd on MLB Pipeline's list. On 2019 and 2018, Eloy Jimenez made the list, 4th in 2018 and then 3rd in 2019. In 2018, Michael Kopech also made the list at 10. In 2017, Yohan Moncada, after being a part of the Chris Sale trade, was 2nd, mostly being a part of the Red Sox organization, and even making his major league debut, but still was a prospect when traded over. And then, after 16 years... Baseball America had one White Sox prospect in 2001, John Rauch. He was 4th in 1994. James Baldwin was 8th. And in 1993, Jason Beret was 8th.
And I mean, it goes to show you, I mean, we've got people in the chat, like you said, Connor bringing up Joe Borchard, got Tom bringing up Josh Fields. You could go on and on. I think all the way back to guys like who was it? Chris Snopek, that was a first round pick back in the day. But it goes to show you kind of what the White Sox farm system has looked like in the eyes of these evaluators really over the years. The top 10 list that you just showed, that's not very long compared to some other organizations, and most of it is completely stacked within the last 7 years. So to have a nearly 3.5 decades worth of farm system rankings and that be the only guys that have landed in the top 10 probably says a little bit more about the White Sox than it does the lists in general, or the guys in general, I should say. But Colson Montgomery is without a doubt, if you can, everybody watching can remember back to 2019 and 2018 and 2017, without a doubt, he is a prospect that is receiving the same amount of hype that Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert Jr. did 6-7 years ago.
And also, when I look at that list, I think about the White Sox draft throughout the time that they've been. Look at that list. Like, Luis Robert was the international. Jimenez was from another team. Kopech, another team. Yohan Moncada, another team. John Rauch, they drafted. So you got to go from Colson Montgomery in 2024 all the way to 2001 to see a person that they drafted get up to the top 10 of that MLB Pipeline / Baseball America top 10 prospects. That just tells me about how badly the Kenny Williams draft strategy was during his tenure, because that draft, John Rauch was drafted by Ron Shula, the GM before Kenny Williams. So it's good to get back to that, because that will save you money eventually if you draft and cultivate your own players instead of trading for those players or getting them in international signings.
And it was fun to go through this list because there were some White Sox players who were on this list but weren't drafted by the White Sox or were even White Sox when they were a part of the list, like Paul Konerko. He's a former White Sox.
He is.
I think Jim Thome was obviously on the list at some point.
Lucas Giolito.
Lucas Giolito was on the list at one point as well. There was one that I really wanted to bring up though, and now I'm franking. Oh, Jose Contreras was on the list. I had no idea that Jose Contreras a Yankee was on the prospect list, and I was like, hey, I know him. So the White Sox, I think, did a really good job of being like, oh, you used to be good. Let's try. So the old Brian Bannister method.
That's the whole Kenny Williams thing, like where he's like, oh, I've heard of you before, and you're kind of like an athlete. Come on through. And then his draft strategy is like, did you play football? And you kind of play baseball? Baby, come on through. I wish Mike Trout would have played better football. God damn it.
Right, but hey, I mean, Colson Montgomery, baseball player or a basketball player. So again, two-sport athlete.
Tim Anderson, basketball player.
Hey, basketball's fine. That football thing, man, that cost the White Sox multiple times. I mean, we talked about John Rauch. Somebody talked about Josh Fields. He was a former quarterback at Oklahoma State, and Kenny Williams couldn't wait to get him on the team and had that one flash in the playing year. But, yeah, it's good to see Colson Montgomery up there and to have an actual person that they drafted. And that's a feather in their cap. They could say, hey, you guys talk about our minor league system all the time. We drafted this guy a couple of years ago. He's already in the top 10. That's from our development. That's from our system.
And the number one pick that came after him is a top 50 prospect in baseball right now.
Right, yeah. I mean, literally, at 50, Noah Schultz is there. And you look at players that have that 50, that future value of 50 or greater. Colson's one of those. Schultz is one of those. Brian Ramos is one of those. So it isn't a plentiful, what's it called, prospect list, but
high volume for the White Sox. You mean? Yeah.
There's some stars.
Because the Cubs have 7 or something like that? Yes. Like they're dominating it this year. But we've seen other, you bring up the Orioles. We've seen other teams kind of have that stretch. The White Sox, for a while there, when they started the last rebuild, were really well stocked with well thought of prospects, even if they didn't all crack the top 100 in the rankings every single or together in one year. But I think the best takeaway from that list, which is a good one, is Sox fans think back not to now, how guys like Moncada and Jimenez might have panned out in the years since, but think back to when you were very excited to see Moncada and Jimenez and Robert up at the big league level. Montgomery is a prospect of that caliber.
I'm looking for the 2024. I thought they might have the team list yet, but we don't know where the White
top
Sox,
30 per team.
Yeah, we don't know where the White Sox stand, at least according to MLB.com, on where the Sox stand. Because honestly, after what they acquired in the trade deadline, you think they'd probably be from in the 20s to 15, hopefully.
Perhaps.
I feel like, for all the crap Rick Hahn did, his last thing, the trade deadline, was pretty decent. You look at all the people that they were able to acquire, not so bad. I do want to go to just some Colson stuff real quick. Obviously, this whole entire show is going to be about Colson. But before we take a break, I just wanted to read some stuff from Fangraphs because they put out their full report for 2024 on Colson Montgomery. So here are his tool grades from Fangraphs with his present value and his future value. So 50 would be league average.
Okay.
Right now, his present hit tool is at a 35 with a future value of a 45. His raw power is currently at 60, and they think that it will max out at 60. Game power is currently at 45, and you think that once he gets a full idea of how to use his power, as what he's only barely 22 years old, that power potential could get up to a 60. His run is currently at a 40, and they think it will max out as a 40. They don't think that he will really decline that much as an athlete. Right now, his fielding grade is a 30 with a future value of a 50, and his arm gets a 50 grade as well. And the big thing that stuck out to me was they write, his 2023 got off to a delayed start due to oblique and back issues that kept him off the complex in Arizona until July. Once he was back, Montgomery posted some of the best surface level stats: a 287 batting average, a 456 on base percent, and a 484 slugging percent combined across all levels. And underlying TrackMan data in all minor league baseball, his lack of chase, just 16%, and quality and amount of contact he made, 8 swinging percent strike rate, 113 mile per hour max exit velocity, just to name a couple data points, had Montgomery looking on paper like a near-ready superstar. There's a lot of great stuff, too, about his swing and how he struggled with belt-high fastballs, but the biggest thing that sticks out is his defense. We'll talk about that in just a second, but again, all the reports, all the clamorings for Colson Montgomery is they got a good one. I know a lot of those names aren't really that exciting for Sox fans, like Jason Beret and James Baldwin and John Rauch, and
they all contributed.
I mean,
John Rauch didn't contribute, but Jason Beret and James Baldwin contributed.
John Rauch contributed to Ken Griffey Jr. And Brett Boone's stat career, and Mike Cameron.
Yes,
that's what I'm thinking of, not Ken Griffey. Anyways, let's take a quick break. Let's let people know about our friends over at ComEd and Midtown Athletic Club, and then we'll continue the Colson discussion. But Vinny, we got to discuss some ComEd. We got to discuss some electric vehicles because it's getting easier for business to switch to electric vehicles. It's something that we can all get behind for the health of the planet, for the well-being for all of us, like Colson Montgomery, who share it.
True enough, Sean. The electric grid is evolving to meet your cleaner energy needs as we all move with confidence toward an electric tomorrow. Whether you have one delivery van or a whole fleet of shipping trucks, ComEd can help guide you to make the changes that make sense.
What should business owners do, Vinny?
What they should do is go to ComEd.com/clean to learn more about the resources, fleet rebates, and infrastructure incentives available to help businesses go electric. If you own a business, don't wait. Start making your plan today to switch to electric vehicles. They're good for business, good for the planet, and good for all of us. Go to ComEd.com/clean.
It's loud in here. Did you say ComEd.com/clean?
Indeed, I did. Go now and see how going electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come.
Midtown.com/CHGO is one of my favorite websites. You should go there right damn now because Midtown has 4 Chicagoland locations: Palatine in the northwest suburbs, Bannockburn in the North Shore, Willowbrook in the southwest suburbs, and Midtown Athletic Club and Hotel in the middle of Bucktown and Lincoln Park. The Midtown Palatine has launched their multi-million-dollar transformation of the club, which will be complete early 2024. And Midtown is offering no initiation fees this January, so you got 2 days left at their Bannockburn, Palatine, and Willowbrook locations. So right there, you're on midtown.com/CHGO. Go there now and schedule up a tour for yourself so you can get that no initiation fees deal that they got going on, because there's something for everyone. Whether you're a single person, married with children, people looking for a lifestyle change or holistic wellness, Midtown Chicago is the nicest fitness club that I've ever been to because of the super luxe locker rooms and the wet and dry saunas. They have premium amenities with amazing outdoor and indoor pools and hot tubs, a collection of boutique fitness studios with more than 100 classes per week that is included in your membership. And this isn't gym quality. This is boutique quality. Spaces like the arena, Everybody Fights, the field, the ride, the theater, and also Samadhi if you're a yogi. But also they have the best tennis courts and programming in the sport. Midtown has indoor, outdoor tennis, pickleball, and paddle tennis. USTA professional quality all the way. You're already there at midtown.com/CHGO. Find out more and tour the Midtown that is closest to you.
Thanks, Herb. Real quick, who will be the White Sox leadoff hitter this year is being discussed in our comments, and I don't know if I can actually answer that.
I think it's pretty obvious.
Is it?
Yeah,
Feel
I
free to
think it's
answer
going to
it.
be Andrew Benintendi.
Oh, my God. Okay.
I mean, that's who we saw doing a good deal of leadoff hitting last year.
Yeah.
And if you remember correctly, I don't know if it ended up this way, but for a while at least, the results were positive.
Yeah.
Certainly the bar was maybe a little low given how bad of a year Tim Anderson had, how bad of a year Andrew Benintendi himself was having, and how bad of a year most of the White Sox offense was having. That being said, I think Benintendi is a guy who Pedro Grifol, who's going to be writing that lineup out every single day, knows exactly that he is a guy that can do what he wants him to do. And I think that, for better or worse, he led the team in on-base percentage last year.
It's like 340?
326, I think it
Jesus,
was, right?
Christ,
It was
no
326.
way.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And but higher than Luis Robert Jr., you know what I mean, who was an MVP type guy. That's who I think it's going to be Benintendi. I suppose there could be others in the mix, but I don't think the other guys who are candidates, like maybe Nicky Lopez maybe would be a candidate, something like that. I don't think he has the track record of offensive success like Benintendi does over the course of his career, even though I know he didn't have a good year last year. So I think it's going to be Benintendi.
All right, and in those 44 appearances, Tim had 90. Benintendi in his 44 appearances batting first, a 301 batting average, a 366 on-base percentage, and a 393 slugging percentage.
Hey, Vinny, I'll take that. I'll take it back.
Yep.
I was disappointed initially, but give me those numbers, I'm in.
Yeah, it sounds like Benintendi with an 092 ISO. Just hitting the shit out of the ball.
He got bigger, though. Vinny, you saw him
that's gonna be
last
great.
week. He got bigger. He looked bigger in those uniforms. They're kind of baggy.
It was hard to tell.
All right.
He claims he's eating a lot of food, so there's that.
You brought him up. Let's ask you a little trivia question.
You're going to bury Benintendi?
Oh, here we go.
Go ahead.
No.
Okay.
We're moving on from that?
I was just wanting to stop talking about him.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Blake name. He'll hit 10 home runs.
Hey, do you know who is a number?
Who do you guys think is going to be the leadoff hitter?
I think Benintendi.
That's
yeah,
the best
okay.
answer.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, like you said, Nicky Lopez is that type of guy that Pedro, I would think, would put him up there. But Nicky Lopez, throughout his career, has not been an on-base guy.
The only other person I could see would be Yohan, just because of the on-base ability.
Can I tell you? I mean, I'll tell you who I'd put there. Luis Robert Jr.
Yeah. I mean, no.
So get them as why would you do that? I don't disagree,
Yeah.
but why would you do that?
He's the best hitter on the team.
Yeah, you want to see him the most times.
He probably, if you're gonna think that the idea is to get to the starting pitcher as soon as possible, why give yourself 2 outs before you do that? Go ahead and see if Luis Robert can go ahead and do some real damage before the guy even settles into one at bat.
Do you think that also would force pitchers to pitch to him more because knowing that they have 2, 3, 4 behind there, if you walk him, he might steal on you, and they have decent hitters behind him?
Not only that, he's a guy that once he gets on base, he has the ability to do something with it. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of folks out there who want that kind of stereotypical leadoff man, get him on first base and give him and start stealing bases. Luis Robert can steal bases if the idea is that he can keep the double oven mitt going, then he can steal bases, and they should let him, because he's a guy that could not only get on base and get things started immediately, he could get to third base before too many more pitches are even thrown. So that's who I would do. It doesn't mean it's going to be wrong.
Yeah.
If he's batting third, that's probably what most people would do, and that's fine. But if I had the lineup card for a day, I'd probably put Robert right at the top.
He's had 23 at-bats in the past 2 years at leadoff or batting first, and he has 2 hits. But he was
How many walks?
3.
Hey.
3 walks to 9 strikeouts, which honestly, compared to his career caper walk, that's like pretty decent. But in 2020, he was 357, 455, and 536. So
Let's go.
Really good his rookie year when he was doing it. So I would think that Benny / Moncada, depending on lefty or righty, if you have a righty on the mound, then probably Benny. If you have a lefty on the mound, then probably Moncada
And
batting
then just
righty.
flip him, put the guy who's not leading off number 2.
Well, I put Robert too. I don't hate your idea of having him lead off. I would say bat him second and then Aloy third, Vaughn 4, and then Benintendi or Moncada fifth. Yeah, I think that's probably the 1, 2, 3, 1 through 5 right now. But then again, who knows? Because Colson Montgomery might be on the team. All right, let's take that transition. Let's go to Chris Getz's comments first, because we got some trade stuff that I want to get into, and then we'll look at the 2025 prospect ranking as well. So let's look at Chris Getz's history of comments on Colson Montgomery this offseason.
Yeah, so basically it's been, I think we dedicated a whole show to it, or earlier in the offseason. There's a question, and I think a valid one. Can Colson Montgomery make the opening day roster? Can he be their opening day shortstop? And I think the odds are very much in favor of that not being the case, just because there's no reason to rush him. There's probably things that they still want him to polish up in the minor leagues. Why would you force him to do that at the major league level if you didn't have to? Yeah, I think he's probably going to start the season at AAA Charlotte. That being said, it's not impossible for him to make the opening day roster, in my opinion, based on what Chris Getz and Pedro Grifol have said. This White Sox roster is not exactly chock full of guys who would be blocking him or, hey, sorry, Colson, you're ready to go, but sorry, man, we got Paul DeYoung at shortstop. We can't move him kind of thing. I think you could, right? You can move him to maybe a different position, or you could say, Paul DeYoung, we're not really paying you anything. We're going to go with the guy who's tearing it up. It, of course, would be contingent on Colson tearing it up in spring training. But we're about to hear from Pedro Grifol. We heard from him earlier in the offseason, even dating back to before last season even ended, talking about the kind of spring that he wants to have, where it's competition-based. And if you show up and you want a job and you can prove that you're better than the guy next to you, then go ahead and do it. And I think if that's the mindset that he wants to bring into spring training, why doesn't that apply to Colson Montgomery? It absolutely could, in my opinion. Again, I still think the likeliest outcome is him at Charlotte and perhaps for the bulk of the 2024 season, but I don't think it's an impossibility. So Chris Getz has been asked this on numerous occasions. We go back to the GM meetings the first week of November, and he said, quote, I don't want to set limitations on Colson Montgomery, and further down in that quote, I don't want to have the expectation for Colson to think he's going to be our opening day shortstop, but I don't want to cap anything for him either, because it's important for him to stay motivated and be ready to go in spring training, because who knows how 2024 unravels for him. And so I think it was coming out of that week in Arizona where we were like, hey, Colson Montgomery, opening day shortstop, a possibility perhaps. Then 10 days later, after Chris makes the trade of Aaron Bummer going to Atlanta, bringing all the players back into the White Sox organization, he's asked, have there been any conversations about Colson Montgomery making the team out of spring training? And his response was no, there hasn't been any talk of that. Fast forward then to 3 days ago, Saturday, and Chris is a guest on Bruce Levine's show on The Score, and he was asked about the likelihood of Colson perhaps making the team out of spring training. And among the things he said was, we'll come into spring training and see what he looks like. The way things are trending, I don't think he's too far off of being at the major league level. Just a really exciting player. So, again, some crosstalk in there, right? Him kind of contradicting himself maybe a little bit at times. And I think in the entirety of those comments are non-committal enough that no matter what happens, it shouldn't change the narrative or change the story. But I just think it's very interesting to see how the evolution of what those comments have been over the course of the offseason, given that this guy is obviously a cornerstone piece of this team for the long term.
Interesting, too, because I think those first two comments were before Paul DeJong was even signed, because he was signed on November 24th.
That is correct.
And the Bummer trade was the 16th.
Correct.
So, I mean, still, they didn't have a shortstop in-house before those first two comments. What do you make of this?
Yeah, it's good to have carrot in the stick type of thing for Chris Getz to have that for Colson Montgomery and, have a atmosphere of meritocracy. If you are the best player at the position, you should get the promotion. But with Colson Montgomery, I think that he's barely played 100 games in a season. I don't think he has in his major league or his professional career. So he's very young in his life. He's like 22 years old. So, yes, come to spring training, show out. And if you are the best person, you give him consideration. But also, I don't think he's even played 60 games at the AA level and to varying actual results. I don't think when he went to Project Birmingham in 22, he did well at all. And then last year, he did well, but it was very few games last year. So my plan would be to have him just make it undoubtedly, I got to bring this guy up because he's crushing AA and or AAA. And so let him do that first. But it's good for everybody in the farm organization to think that, hey, if I perform, the GM is not going to hold me back. We're not going to be playing service time games. If I'm the best option, I get the call. And so I think for the most part, he is not going to be a White Sox on opening day on the professional team. But at the end of the year, I can't say he won't be. So if he proves he is and improves that defense that is kind of rickety right now, hey, I'm in. But I don't think that Colson Montgomery is held back by the team because of other reasons, which I've accused the other regime of back in the past when they're playing service time games. It's good. It's a new day where people can just win jobs out of spring training if they are the best.
We're going to hear from Pedro Grifol in a second. I also have a fear that I want to share with the group. One thing, though, we've heard a ton about the comparison between Colson Montgomery and Corey Seager. Mm-hmm. I think blank name brought it up, or somebody brought up Colson's age. Colson was at rookie ball when he was 19. Corey Seager was there when he was at 18. So one thing that Corey Seager was able to do before he made his debut at 21 with the Dodgers was get 1,704 plate appearances before making that jump to Major League Baseball. Colson right now at 915. So even with 500 plate appearances, he still won't be at the level that, or the experience level that Corey Seager was at, come Major League debut time. And it does seem like he'll get there before 1,700 plate appearances.
You say something like that, and my mind goes back to one of the things that Josh Barfield said when we first talked to him after he joined the White Sox front office. Obviously, he was running the farm system out in Arizona, where Corbin Carroll was the runaway winner for Rookie of the Year this past year, and he made the comparison in terms of, hey, guys show that they're ready at completely different levels. Every single one of them is unique. Sometimes there are guys who need to be there and hit a certain benchmark of at-bats themselves in order to get it, right, in order for things to click. And sometimes Corbin Carroll says, who needs this minor league stuff? Let's go to the major leagues. I'm not saying that Colson Montgomery is either one of those extremes. He might fall somewhere right in the middle, but you have someone in a decision-making role who is voicing that opinion of, hey, it is possible for guys to smash through whatever barrier or whatever check marks we have for them. Maybe Colson Montgomery is one of those guys for the White Sox.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's hear from Pedro Grifol from when Vinny chatted with him and the media chatted with him at the Boys and Girls Club, and we heard two questions directed to Pedro about Colson Montgomery and his ability to make the team possibly come opening day.
You got a lot of guys here with you today that haven't played in the big leagues before. What sort of chances are the Montgomerys and the Nestrinis and everybody else going to have come spring to kind of crack the team?
They're competing for a job. And that's what we talked about here before. There's a lot of depth, especially on that mound. And there's a lot of guys with little major league experience. But we're open to anything. We're open to what helps us win baseball games. And I think everybody knows that, and I think everybody's coming into spring training with that mentality, and there's going to be a lot of competition. I'm really excited to see it, and I'm really excited to see what happens.
You got to see Colson. You were out in Arizona for a little bit too. How close do you think he is to contributing to you guys at the big league level?
There's really no telling. He's extremely talented. Obviously. He shows something that's very uncharacteristic with young hitters. He shows patience, hitability, occasional power. But these guys that have that kind of talent, they'll let you know when they're ready. So again, he's coming to spring training, and he's got to do his thing. He's got to learn, the major league game. He's got to see major league pitching, and we'll continue to evaluate this thing. And most of the time, those guys let us know when they're ready.
Okay, here's my fear. What if Colson Montgomery's ready, but he hasn't shown enough prowess at the shortstop level? And obviously we know that shortstop is such a difficult position defensively. Third base isn't open in 2024. Romy Gonzalez was the opening day right fielder in 2023. Can Colson Montgomery be the opening day right fielder in 2024?
No, I don't think that's in the cards for him. But here's
He's athletic.
But here's what I will say is that if he hasn't shown enough defensive prowess, he's not ready. You know what I mean? Like this is an all-around thing for the people who are doing the evaluating. It's folks like ourselves who aren't watching every single minor league game, who aren't necessarily as the professionals are well versed necessarily in the signs of what makes you ready, are looking at the stat sheet every night. And the stat sheets measure offensive success, and his offensive success has been tremendous. You read off a 460 on-base percentage in some collection of games. That's insanity. Yeah. That's so good. But
456.
Oof.
456, yeah. For whatever collection of games you were referencing. But there are other things that these guys are looking at that don't show up on the stat sheet. So whether those numbers are eye-popping in a good way or a bad way, the truth of the matter is in the details that we can't see in a box score or on Baseball Reference. So I think that to have a guy put up those offensive numbers and for them to say, you have things that you need to work on in the minor leagues, means the defense isn't ready. And they're only going to call him up when both the offense and the defense is ready. Maybe at the end of the day, it's not a shortstop defense, but they're not going to go put a guy out there even at third or second or right field if they're not confident that he can play the position. Everybody's going to laugh and say, the White Sox do it with Gavin Sheets and Andrew Vaughn. They were confident that those guys could handle it in a way, and to varying degrees they did or didn't. But when you're talking about a guy in Montgomery who is very much a cornerstone of the long-term plan, I mean, ideally they want him to be their shortstop for the next 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. So why would you call him up if you weren't confident that he could do that when you called him up?
And speak to your point, Vinny, if the Andrew Vaughn or Gavin Sheets experiments had worked out, I can see the White Sox maybe doing the right field thing as you suggest, Sean, but you read off the grades. He's a 30 defensively right now and made like 15-plus errors in 60-plus games at AA. That's a huge amount for a season, much less only 63 games. And so I think they want him to be at least competent. They've been speaking all offseason about defense and how they want to change the things that are going on with the White Sox. And Jake gets a good point because Tim Anderson, his bat played pretty much all through minor leagues, but his defense was kind of rusty. We saw when he came up, he was still the same guy. Then he fixed up some things, and then last year he took a huge step back. You don't want Colson Montgomery coming to this team, producing with the bat, and then not be able to stay on the field, especially late in games, because he can't be counted on to pick up the ball and throw it to first. So they need to make sure that is nailed down. If that takes this year and next year, so be it. He's still young and still under their control for a couple more years.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was mostly just joking because of the Andrew Vaughn thing, and they put him in right field, and they don't have a right fielder yet. I think that it is possible that if Colson makes his debut in 2024, it's at third base, and we did hear Chris Getz bring up, hey, Yoan Moncada maybe plays first base, right field, left field. Like, I think that if Colson does come up in 2024, they're kind of abandoning the whole shortstop thing, because the reports say that guys this size, as Colson Montgomery, typically don't stick at shortstop. And the reason why he made that many errors might just because he's not a shortstop. He might be too big to play shortstop.
And he was hurt last year. He probably he had oblique problems and back problems, so those probably contributed to his bad fielding.
Yeah, but we've heard, I mean, just there wasn't always rave reviews for him being a shortstop. It was always one of the biggest question marks, even when he was drafted, was just that, can he actually stick at shortstop? And Corey Seager is really the exception to the rule there of guys that are that big and have been able to stick at shortstop. And Corey Seager also was just a pretty decent fielder, where the reports on Colson is that he's just kind of too slow, and that routine plays don't seem to be too routine for Colson. So, let's maybe move him to third base where he might have the arm for it.
Well, and I'll bring this up at this point, too, because you're talking about where is he going to end up on the field. We had a question the other day, yesterday maybe, or recently, about kind of all the holes that the White Sox might have even after this year, even after doing some work to sign guys to short-term deals. What happens when Paul DeJong's contract runs out? What happens if Yoan Moncada leaves without them picking up the option? What happens? I think it's 2 more years of team control on Nicky Lopez, including this one. So if he's not the second baseman in a year or so, Colson Montgomery can go to any of those spots, right? I mean, so you talk about, oh God, what are they doing? How come they haven't signed a long-term guy at this position and that position? Well, maybe they're waiting to see what position Colson Montgomery ends up playing at the major league level, because come the end of the 2024 season, they might be able to say, well, we got third base locked down with Colson Montgomery. Or we got Colson Montgomery projected to be the shortstop or the second baseman or hell, the first baseman for the next 6-7 years. Now we'll go up. Now we can actually take our to-do list and know what we need. This year might be a little bit about learning, and that might be one of the things they're waiting to learn is what position does he end up at. So that's one of the positions we don't have to go and fill a year from now.
Absolutely. I will take that transition and take a break, and we'll discuss that exact point. Want to let you know about our friends over at CIRCA Sportsbook. If you are looking to bet the big game, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, head over to our friends at CIRCA Sportsbook. The line right now is -1.5 for the 49ers. If you like the favorites, at -110. And if you like the Chiefs, you can get that at +1.5 at -110. And if you like the Chiefs on the money line, you can get that at +106 with our friends over at CIRCA Sportsbooks. Games will strive to be a -110 split on the CIRCA Sports menu, unlike other sports books, which may use a -115 or -120 split. CIRCA keeps as little money as possible on large market bets like futures and golf tournaments, especially compared to other books, which allow them to keep that -110 split on their menu. And their app does not limit players based on their winnings. Every player has the same limits, unlike other books who do limit winning players, and they encourage bettors to download and explore all sports betting apps available so you can compare the lines from each sports book. And most of the time, if not all the time, the world's largest sports book, CIRCA Sportsbook, will have the best odds for you. And I did see that Jeff Benson, their VP, put up odds for MVP. So if you are looking for a big game MVP, CIRCA is the place for you. So download the CIRCA Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app. That's circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Also be on the lookout for CIRCA events, watch parties, and tailgates. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537, text GMB 833-234, or visit areyourreallywinning.com. And we want to let you know about our friends over at Chevy. Our partner, Ray Chevrolet, is ringing in the new year with their best offers all month long. Make your way to Ray Chevrolet on Fox 12 in Fox Lake to join in the savings and start your Ray resolution. As one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories. But right now, they're trying to make room for inbound 2024 models, so all of their current inventory must go. It's a good time to take a deep breath. Plus, you can find the perfect tailgating vehicles at Ray Chevy because they have over 100 new Silverados available with prices starting at $19,495. See, the Ray price promise. It's lower than I even said.
It's going down by the minute, folks.
Or take up to $10,000 off a new 2023 Silverado. And to top it all off, they're pricing over 125 vehicles under $20,000. Seriously, it can't get more affordable unless I read the price wrong. And you can get a free oil change if you mention CHGO when scheduling your oil change at Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake. So start your new year off right with our friends at Ray Chevrolet. Visit them in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com to start your Ray resolution. They've been serving the community since 1963. Find new roads. All right, so my one question was going to be, we hear about the Mariners come up in trade talks. We hear that the Orioles have the best farm system to trade with and that the White Sox likely want to do a deal with them. We've heard the Yankees pop up. Are the White Sox looking for a shortstop in a trade package because of the likelihood that Montgomery moves offshore?
Not at this point, I don't think. And really, I wouldn't say at all, just because when you're trading for these types of players, guys in the minor leagues who are not proven, guys who are, who you hope are going to be around for a long time, but you don't know that for a fact, you got to go out and get the best player. And obviously this is a little difficult because you don't just get to pick from the list. You have to match up in a way where the other team is going to be willing to give you what you want. But I don't think that you say, you know what, we're not going to do this deal because we wanted a shortstop and you offered us a third baseman, or you offered us we wanted a right fielder and you said center fielder, so now we're out. I really don't think that you can do that, because you just take the guy who's has the best chance of being the best player and helping your lineup in the best possible way. You can move the pieces around if it works later in the game. I mean, Herb, you were talking about how the Padres kept playing musical chairs on the infield for the last few years as they kept getting better and better players. Hell, Fernando Tatis Jr. came up as a shortstop, and now he's the best defensive right fielder in baseball. So, I'm not saying it's as easy as just saying, all right, you go play over there. Hopefully it works, because we've seen with the White Sox, the guys they just brought up, Vaughn and Sheets, it hasn't worked out that well from a defensive standpoint. But I think when you're going and getting guys in the minor leagues who have no major league experience yet and are still just hopefuls, you got to go with the best player possible.
I agree, but as we have seen, when you get a shortstop, and Vinny just alluded to it, you can move them around to varying degrees. I mean, we've seen Alex Rodriguez, Cal Ripken Jr., were shortstops, moved to third base pretty much seamlessly when they did that in their career. You just brought up Fernando Tatis Jr. doing that pretty easily. San Kim, who's going to be a free agent next year, shortstop originally. Now he's playing second base again. I think he might go back to shortstop eventually. So
Tim Anderson in the World Baseball Classic.
There, yeah. But you have examples like a shortstop is the most valuable player in your farm system if he can definitely play shortstop, because he can be moved around. We talked about Andres Gimenez and Rosario when they got traded from the Mets to the Cleveland Guardians. Both were shortstops in the Mets system, and they made a great up-the-middle combination for the Guardians. So, yes, I don't think the White Sox are going to be like, hey, don't give us that damn shortstop, and we're not going to make a deal. But it's probably better for the team to have a person that does play shortstop, and then they can move him around based upon if Colson Montgomery matures into that shortstop they want to. If he doesn't, you got a plug-and-play guy right there.
Yeah, the one issue is you have in your farm system Jacob Gonzalez, who is your 7th-ranked prospect according to Fangraphs. He is currently at A-ball. He was your last first-round pick in the last draft. But also, the returns on him haven't been so great. You also have Ryan Burrows, but he's not even 20 yet. He's in rookie ball. He's a shortstop as well. And then you also have Javier Magalian. That's the first time I'm seeing that name and the first time I'm saying it out loud. But he's under 19. He's only in the rookie ball, and he is labeled as a second baseman. So not a lot of middle infield prospects for the Sox.
Juan Uribe Jr.?
I don't think he's a top 30 prospect,
Son of a bitch.
Unfortunately, yet. I just, because it does seem like they're asking for the sun and the moon. I do wonder if they are looking for every single piece to be lined up. So I do wonder if they are looking for, hey, your 2 best players, and we got to make sure that either one of those or the third player that's included is an infielder, because it doesn't seem, or at least an up-the-middle infielder, because it does seem like it is very thin for their organization.
That's how you hope that it pans out, but all you got to do is look back to what Rick Hahn did. He placed a guy that you thought was going to be there for 10 years, hitting 40 home runs a year at basically every position on the infield. Some of those guys don't pan out for injury reasons, for performance reasons, for whatever reason, and there was nobody to come in and backfill in a lot of cases, right? So going and getting another shortstop just because you have Colson Montgomery, not the worst thing in the world because that just creates depth. And I think that, you've seen them even talk about the fact that look at all these starting pitchers they have now. They might not be the guys that are the greatest. They might not all work out, but they've got a lot more than they did before, and that provides you some level of cover if things don't work out with guys that you are projecting to be there. So I don't think that you say, no, we need this one position or we're keeping Dylan Cease. I think you say, give us the best players we can get, and hopefully all of them pan out, and it's a good problem to have.
But no deal has been done yet.
Correct.
And it's like, what are we waiting for?
Well, you know exactly what they're waiting for.
Call Atlanta, call Seattle, a deal will be done. Because those people are like, man, let's trade everybody. Get your ass out of here immediately. Like they just got Anthony Discalfini. Like immediately get your ass out of here. I feel sad for him. Like he was Arizona. Now he's got to find a spot in Florida for his spring training.
Do you think he moved though? Like, do you think he made them look? Do you think he was still in the process of finding a place in Seattle?
I'm sure you just got traded to Seattle, so I'm sure he's looking up real estate. His family's looking up real estate, and for spring training, you're probably looking for a temporary home for yourself. And now you're like, damn, I gotta go to fucking Florida. Ugh, sorry, Anthony Discalfini.
I'd hate for him to have pulled the trigger.
That's two terrible states, but whatever.
What, Florida and Seattle?
Florida Washington? And Arizona, just hot and hot.
Well, like it's different hot.
Yeah, one's a dry heat, which is still hot, and the other one's hot, and mosquitoes and alligators and shit.
Arizona's beautiful, Herb. Beautiful looking state.
I mean, very, very beautiful looking state. I want to visit for like 2 days, and I'm out. Scorpions everywhere.
I love Arizona. You're not going to hear me say a bad thing.
I'll take the dry heat over that weird sinking state.
Rock you like a hurricane. That's Scorpions, right?
It is. Who are German.
What?
Yeah, the Scorps are German.
All right. Anyways, I got some
Scorps.
Yeah, Scorps.
Okay.
I got some trivia for you guys, and then I kind of want to discuss this Twins thing for a bit, or just for a second. J.J. Cooper of Baseball America put this out. They rolled out obviously their top 100 prospect list, but if you're wondering, how many since 1990 of those players have been Hall of Famers?
How many players in Baseball America's top 100 prospects in the last 34 years have made the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, so can I get how many players were in that? So just 100 each of those years?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some overlap, but
yeah. All right. I would just say like 10.
I'd say it's a small number. So I'm just going to use the fact that Herb answered first to do over or under. I will say under.
You'll say under?
Under 10.
Herb wins. 19 players were eligible for a top 100 prospect list who have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Of those 19, 17 made at least one top 100 prospect list. Who are the only two that didn't? So 19 were elected into the Hall of Fame from 1990 that were eligible for a list. Only 17 made the top 100 list. So
the answer was 17, not 19.
19 players who were eligible. They were eligible for the top 100.
Right.
But they didn't make it.
You asked us who was on the top 100 list that's made the Hall of Fame. The answer's, so that'd be 17, right?
I'm trying to think.
Yes. So my bad. So
yeah.
There have been 19 players who were eligible for the top 100 prospect list. Of those, 17 made at least one top 100 prospect list. So I'm sorry.
All right. So you've got to guess the only two.
The only two.
Ooh, Jesus. So I got to think about players that were probably not highly thought of and then eventually just broke through. David Ortiz. God damn it.
David Ortiz was the lowest of the 17 to be ranked at 84.
Okay.
But no, he was 84.
Son of a gun. I'm just trying to think of now I got to think of a
You're thinking too hard.
So White Sox.
No, you're not thinking that hard. No. What? This is why you're thinking too hard.
I'm just trying to think of who's been elected to the Hall of Fame was a prospect 1990 or later.
Todd Helton was pretty damn good, so I think he was in the top 10.
Yeah, Todd Helton was 11.
Say John Schmaltz.
No.
All right.
Well, John Schmaltz was 1990.
Yeah. All right. Well, already off to a rip-roaring start.
Think about John Schmaltz.
Tom Glavine.
No, okay, but think about John Schmaltz's career and maybe things that he did in his career.
Like a closer.
Starter
Trevor
closer?
Hoffman. Okay. And Mariano Rivera.
There
you go. That was easy.
Yeah, okay. It was easy.
Was it?
Yes. The two guys that's why Garrett Crochet, who doesn't want to be a reliever.
It's a good point. You don't see a lot of relief pitchers on the top prospects list, do you?
No.
As JJ says, Mariano Rivera and Trevor Hoffman were both top 10 prospects for their team, but not top 100 prospects overall. So if you take out the closers, 17 for 17 of the Hall of Famers were ranked.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah, right. So what I was trying to show is that, like, I get we've been scorned by top 10 prospects before. Your Jason Berets, your James Baldwins.
Those are actually good
guys. I mean, Yohan Moncada has still been an average MLB baseball player. It seems like there's been some things that have held him back from reaching the potential. Same with Michael Kopech, but you still kind of see why those guys, even in 2024, are still highly thought of. Colson Montgomery, if things go right, could be a very, 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 very good baseball player. And that's exciting. If there's one thing that should be exciting Sox fans in 2024, it is Colson Montgomery. And the one thing, too, there's one guy above him, and he's 17 years old. He's a catcher for the Padres that has a later estimated time of arrival to the major leagues than Colson Montgomery. At 8, it's Ethan Salas. So if Salas has a bad year and Colson Montgomery has a good year and Montgomery isn't eligible to come off the prospect list, and all of the 7 guys above Salas make it, I think that there is a possibility, there is a world, there is a reality where Colson Montgomery is the number 1 prospect in baseball, and that will be the first time in White Sox history that they have the number 1 prospect in all of baseball.
I think he'll be in the majors before the end of the season, but Sean, you can dream.
But, I mean, we saw Moncada make the majors but not have enough games. Dominguez made the majors last year but still not playing enough games.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Right? I mean, like, if he plays 8 games, he won't make the list. Or he will make the list.
He'll be eligible.
So, I mean, I think that there is a universe where the Sox might have the number 1 prospect in baseball. And I'd throw up that day. That'd be really fun.
Salas is going to kill.
I mean, Salas wasn't that good when he got promoted to better competition.
He's 17 years old.
584 OPS. Yeah.
Mercy.
Yikes. Okay, I think that's it. Oh, the one thing, too, with Colson, of those 17 players that made the top 100 list, 7 were top 10. So 41% were top 10. I think it was Mauer, Chipper, Adrian Beltre, Vladimir Guerrero, Derek Jeter, Pudge, and Pedro Martinez. So
that's a good team.
Pretty good team. Pretty good list. And then Todd Helton was like 11.
Even
Roy Halladay was 12.
Even though that team is 2 players short, I would take it.
You got a pitcher.
Yeah, just take our chances. Like,
right.
Leave third base open when there's a lefty up.
You got a pitcher. You got 2 great catchers. I mean, Mauer might have to play, I guess, first base.
Yeah.
I've Pudge. Yeah, he's going to be. Yeah.
You got
Who do you
Jeter
pick for
play
third?
short.
Who do you pick for third? Beltre or Chipper?
Beltre.
Where's Chipper play?
I think Chipper plays short and Jeter plays second.
Yeah, Jeter was a
There you go.
terrible
And then
shortstop.
third base is Beltre.
You have no outfielders.
How is Ken Griffey not on this damn list?
He debuted before
was
1990.
young.
He was 89.
Yeah, he was young as hell too.
Yeah. Oh, Vlad Guerrero is just going to patrol the outfield.
There you go. You get one outfielder, and it's Vlad Guerrero.
Right.
Excellent. You're out at home.
Hey,
if you run on him, you're out
Immediately.
People be trying for inside the parks home runs because he's the only guy out there, but you'll be out at home.
He'll have those Jose Guillen mutant throws. It's a good transition, too, because the MLB The Show 2024 MLB cover athlete was announced. It's Vladdy Jr. So MLB The Show 2006 had Vlad Sr. MLB The Show 2024 had Vlad Jr.
How about that?
I think the first ever father-son combo to be on a video game. So at least Major League Baseball video game. What do we think of the Twins trade? We were talking about Jerry Dipoto making all these trades. Even since making that trade, he made another trade. He's made 162 in his lifetime as
one for every game.
GM, as a Mariner GM.
And he had a career as a GM for a different team prior to that.
Yep.
So it's way bigger.
The Angels.
He's the Angels GM.
Angels GM, yeah.
So yeah, he's probably well over 200.
Well over 200, yeah.
Justin Topa, Anthony DeScalfani are the 2 major leaguers that will be going to the Twins. Gabriel Gonzalez and Darren Bowen are minor leaguers. So it's a player package going to the Twins for Jorge Polanco. What do we make of this Mariner-Twin trade?
Seems like it makes them worse in the short term, but might be a good long-term deal for them. From the very little that I looked at on terms of reviews by folks for this, seems positive. It seems they got a good group of players. One of those minor leaguers, I think, is right outside the top 100,
Gonzalez,
something like that. So that's a good prospect get for them for a veteran guy. The Twins have not really done much of anything positive this offseason, and they're still going to go into the season as the favorite to win that division. So I guess taking advantage of the situation that they're in and making themselves a little better in the long term, even because their short term might not be drastically affected even by losing one of their best hitters.
Yeah, I think as a White Sox fan who doesn't like the Twins, you got to feel for the Twins fans. Like, they won the AL Central last year and then finally won a series. So you're thinking, okay, let's build off of that. Let's go to the next level. They're like, no, we're cutting payroll. That player you like, Polanco, get your ass out of here. Like, it was his walk year, right? So they were going to pay him whatever he won in the free agent market. I'm sure they have a shortstop, second base prospect that's going to come up and make a seamless transition. But, like, Topa's a really good reliever, and DeSclafani is a all right starter. But they had to get money included in the deal to pay for some of DeSclafani's $12 million salary. So it's like, you're not broke. You're using the Bally Diamond Sports thing to say that you're broke. You're trying to be the poor team. But it's just so bad to see a team that was at the top of the league of our division, and then they're just like, we're not even going to try to do anything this year, and we might still win. As Vinny said, we still might win the AL Central. So I think they got worse yesterday, and still will probably be the favorites in the AL Central.
Absolutely.
I mean, probably the overwhelming favorite, right?
Tigers have done some things. And
Anything
I think
that
the
makes
Tigers,
them scary?
No, they took their player in Kenta Maeda, and so that's a starting pitcher that they might have. And then Tariq Skubal at the beginning of their rotation. I think it's going to be his blast-off year where Tariq Skubal is going to be a top 10 Cy Young candidate.
You're saying it wrong.
Sorry. Vinny?
Skubal!
You cracked me up there. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. And
Good job, Sean.
They got some, and then they signed their young prospect who hasn't made a major league start at all to like a 5-6 year deal.
Colt Keith?
Yeah, so they're looking as something that is decent, and we saw glimpses of Green playing well. So I think the Twins might have a champion, a battle right there with them, and you can never leave the Guardians out because they're the Guardians.
Yeah, I'm not too afraid of the Guardians, to be honest. I think that the Twins kind of clean this division up pretty handily, even though their lineup feels like it could crumble at any second.
Injuries.
Eduardo Julian, pretty decent second baseman and a very good hitter. Royce Lewis at third base. Awesome. He's got a ton of injuries.
So many grand slams, though.
Byron Buxton is going to be playing center field, and he also has a ton of injuries. Carlos Correa has that whole Achilles thing that didn't want two teams signing with him, and that's everyone besides Max Kepler in their 1 through 5. So I don't know. I just 3 of those guys have major red flags. So it's concerning. It's kind of why I'm like, Sox should be this. I mean, like, spend a little bit maybe.
But don't you think
your second most spent player can't be John Brebbia?
But don't you think the White Sox are looking at the Twins coming back to them and saying, we don't need to go that far? And then they're like, if we just have all these things go right, we'll be right there too. I guarantee they're thinking that because they're not no urgency to go after the Twins or the Tigers. Just like, hey, if Yohan has a good year on his walk year, we benefit from that. Then he goes off to another team. We have a bunch of money in our pocket, $24 million that we don't spend in 25. So I see why the White Sox are not going for it, but also I would love for them to go for it. But they're trying to save some money. Well, their payroll's down $50 million. That's nice, perfect in Jerry's pocket.
Yeah, hey, nice for a new stadium. Anyways, that's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. That is Vinnie Duber. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can read his work at allchgo.com. Also, make sure that you sign up for our Die Hard program. You can chat with diehards like yourself in our Discord. You get a free shirt when you sign up. You get a nice membership card. You get a nice box that all comes with, along with the stickers, right? There's stickers that come along with it as well.
on your computer.
Yes, except for one of them. Anyways, that's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him at Eckerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 4. It's 4 p.m. Goodbye.